I realized I never made a video on two things. My background as an Afro-Ukrainian, and also my experiences last year returning to Ukraine, to Odessa, in August of 2022. So literally 1 year ago, I was in Odessa. I made a video last year, or a few videos, among others, that were kind of the build up to that journey. And it was a journey because it was my whole life in the making to make this jump, to go back, to return, because I hadn't returned. And actually, from the time that I was 3 when I came to the US until I was 25, I never went back. So last year was the first time, and 22 years in the year 2022 was especially significant. And I can't really tell you what it's like, especially growing up as a person that is very disconnected from themselves culturally. They feel like they ought to be attached or attributed to some sort of group that they feel like they can't actually resonate with. And it's not like I could ever reach out and touch them either. And for me especially, that disparity was strong due to being mixed race. So I had the unknowns from my biological paternal side and my maternal side, being that I was Afro-Ukrainian. I can't compare it to anything. And I think only those of you that either are adopted or were born in other countries and grew up elsewhere would really be able to understand that feeling. It's kind of something that you feel, when you're younger, that you could never reclaim. It's like something that was taken from you. It's almost like my life started after I got to the US. Physically, mentally maybe, but not emotionally. That's the weird thing, is that everything I felt like I ever resonated with wasn't really feelings from here, I felt like they were always from elsewhere, which I feel like makes sense because I didn't really connect very well with my peers. And maybe a lot of that was personality differences, but I know that there was something different, and trying to explain that to people is very challenging, especially because in our day and age, especially when I was growing up, everybody thinks that they're different. Everybody thinks that they're going through something unique and extreme, and so in a world of problems, you can't really dwell on yours too often because everybody's seems so intense, at least that's how they paint them. And so I didn't really talk about it growing up because I knew that only people that had been through those experiences would really be able to understand. And even now, it's like, how can you really express the feeling, that raw emotion that you have when you do return after 22 years? I can't even begin to describe that into something understandable or comprehensible, because it's not. You go your whole life knowing that there's more to you, but you can't reach it, you can't reconnect with it because of your environment, and all you can do is wait, until the chance to finally reclaim that part of you that's deep inside, hidden almost. And yeah, for me, it був важко, знаєш. And yeah, я можу працювати і вивчати. I had to work and I had to learn. I had to understand what it's like to be somebody on the border of identities, the border of ideas. and learn how to harmonize those feelings inside myself. And I think by the time I did return last year, I was ready because I had finally came to terms with myself and found comfort in who I was outside of whatever I would find there. And so I did go back and I searched for my biological mom. I went to the hospital I was born. I went to the orphanage that I lived at. I even went to my biological mom's previous address, all in an effort to kind of follow the breadcrumb trail. And while I didn't find anything significant, I didn't make any huge bounds in my search for her, I did find, I think, what I was looking for myself, which was something much more important. It was the opportunity to realize that I have those tools in me, and I wasn't ever missing anything per se. I mean, yeah, the feeling of coming home in a way, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it in this world. And yeah, it was really hard, I'll be honest. It was probably the hardest thing that I've ever done. And the fact that I really felt like I couldn't share it with anybody was challenging in a way. But looking back, I think it's what it took for me to be able to really grow, to do that by myself. Even my adopted parents, they didn't know too much about it. Obviously last year, the Ukrainian war was ongoing. And so I made this journey by myself kind of to minimize any worry and concern of my well-being, but also just to send it, you know? I don't know what's going to happen in Ukraine in the future. And so at that point, I just needed to go. I couldn't wait any longer, you know? And if I was ever going to reconnect, it had to be then. So, yeah, now I'm working on a story, something that's been in the works really since before I left, and it's the kind of Bildungsroman, one could say, of my journey to return to Ukraine, and it's called Volviendo. And it's actually a videographic scenic view into that experience of contemplation, of dissonance, and eventually of return, reconnection. It's going to be a deeper dive into those feelings that I had, and ultimately I'd love to share those with you this fall. And we'll see, because, you know, it's already been about a year past when I was hoping to finish it. But I think that's kind of the thing with these projects, is that you can't really always predict when it's going to be done. You can hope, but sometimes you just can't rush it. And I feel like that's been the vibe with this, is just take my time and make sure it's really complete. Yeah, I really appreciate if you've watched this far, just listening to a little bit more about me. I think a lot of this has helped me to better understand people coming from different places, because I came from a different place, and I felt very strongly that sensation of not fitting in. A lot of people talked about that growing up, but I really, really, really felt it. Not only racially, but also in terms of a culture disparity, even at times kind of like an existential rift in, you know, myself and my peers that I didn't really feel was apparent to other people. So a lot of these things, you know, you can't really talk about. You can only explore those ideas in your mind and maybe share them on a platform like YouTube and see if anybody else can connect with you. And that's kind of what I'm doing now. So again, I really appreciate those that have watched this far, that have been interested and intrigued by my background. I might do another follow-up and just do a little bit more explaining, about maybe some other chapters of my life, but I think some more um, autobiography will come at some point, you know. And for the meantime, stay well, stay chill, and talk soon. Peace.